Good evening and welcome to the AntePoster Saudi Cup Night Special with me, Daniel Morgan, aka the AntePoster, and joined by Ron Wood, now Telegraph Media Group, or its column for the Telegraph Online. But alas, not joined, as you'll notice, by my usual colleague at the AntePoster, James, who is sick as a dog. Which has some negative repercussions because it means yours truly is in charge of presentation, which is suboptimal. And it also means yours truly is in charge of IT. And this was supposed to start 15 minutes ago, but Ron's had to tell me a few things I've done wrong with my microphone. So it's got off to a bad start, but we'll get through it. Ron, welcome on. Thank you for sorting with my tech difficulties. Looking forward to Saudi Cup night.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, good to be back on. Absolutely, yeah, it's a cracking card again. Yeah, always an interesting one with loads of international runners. So glad we got there in the end of the microphone. So all good, ready to go.
Yeah, just about. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to look at the Saudi Cup itself in some detail, and then we're going to look at the undercard as a sort of one-off each, having a little look at it with picks where appropriate. But yeah, the focus will mainly be on the Saudi Cup. Just before we start, there are a few slides as we go along. Just thought I'd show you the layout of the track, the two tracks. This is your dirt track, the King Abdulaziz racecourse in Riyadh. The dirt track, you'll notice the Saudi Cup there top right, the 1,800-meter start mark. So unlike a similar kind of distance in the USA, which would be typically around 2 turns doing a full length of the track, because of the length of the chute, it's just the one turn, and they've got a full 5 furlongs or so before they turn to the bend. So they'll race in a straight line for quite a while. So the inside-outside bias is not as extreme as you'd expect on certain tracks, particularly dirt courses in America, where inside is a real advantage. In fact, the last 6 runnings of the Saudi Cup have seen horses win from 1, 4, 5, 7, 12, and 14. So you can win from anywhere. The Saudi Derby, which we'll look at next, just starts a furlong later, over a mile. And the Riyadh Dirt Sprint is the 6 furlong mark. There, they've got a shorter run to the bend, but here too, I'm looking through the data, I don't see too much bias. The turf course is inside the dirt track, but it's not a tight course. This is not Chester or Del Mar. The 1351 Turf Sprint, the shortest race on Saudi Cup night. You see top right there. They've got pretty much the whole of that length of the turf straight before they turn. Red Sea Turf Handicap, they'll do a length and a half of the track, starting further forward. And the Neom Turf Cup starts near the finish line, just do a lap and a half, basically. So that's what we're dealing with. These are the 6 races. Now let's look at the field for the Saudi Cup. We're recording this within an hour of the draw taking place, so we've just added those to the field, and here is your field in order, in betting order, not in draw order. So the draw in brackets, as you see, is just appended there after the runner's name in question. We got a field of 14, and towering over the lot is last year's winner, in what I consider possibly the race of 2025 on the flat, last year's epic duel between Forever Young and that other superstar, Romantic Warrior. He's not back, but some powerful guns are from the USA. So Ron, let's talk through the field. Forever Young, I'm afraid that 10 to 11 has gone in the last hour or two. I think we're best 8 to 11 now. So apologies to viewers for that. I haven't updated that. You're not going to be getting even money or odds against about this horse. Rob, talk through Forever Young.
Yeah, quite another straightforward case for him. He won the race last year. Before that, he won the Saudi Derby 2 years ago. And it was a strong race that year as well. So evidently doesn't mind travelling out to Saudi, and he likes the course. Won the Breeders' Cup Classic as well. He's an amazing horse. He almost won a Kentucky Derby. He's a tremendous kind of super tough. Like last year, he looked like he was beaten in this race. Romantic Warrior went to the front fairly easily, and I watched the race again just 5 minutes before we came on, and just to refresh, and I thought at the time Romantic Warrior was probably went too soon, and then kind of like set the race up for Forever Young a little bit. And I'm kind of still of that opinion, having watched it again. But nevertheless, even if he was second best last year to Romantic Warrior, that would have been still a tremendous effort, and they pulled so far clear of the rest. He's the form standard, as I say, as a Breeders' Cup Classic winner and with the course form. The one pause for me is that, I mean, can he? Forever Young, but like, can he go on forever? Because he's only a 5-year-old, but he's had an awful lot of racing already. The fact that he started in the Saudi Derby and the Kentucky Derby, that can take a lot out of horses, and that'd just be my one pause for taking odds on. Like, I wouldn't take the odds on just for that reason alone, really. Just that I'd be just a little bit concerned about whether he's. I get these races take a lot out of horses, don't they? Especially on the dirt, you've kind of really got to go hard from the gate, and one day he might just it might just have left a mark on him, and that's the only real negative I can find. He's up against some talented horses as well, so it's not an absolute gimme. We'll talk about some of the others. There might not be a load of depth to the race. You could certainly put a line through quite a few of them, but there are some decent horses in opposition. So for me, no, not at that kind of price. He didn't tempt me at 10 to 11, and certainly not now. He's wanting further.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd second that. I mean, he's the standout. And he has had one defeat in his last 5 runs, but I think there's a very clear excuse for that. The Dubai World Cup, he got physically and mentally distressed by the sort of urine sample taking procedure. It all went wrong. There was a big exchange of correspondence between the course vet and Yagi's people after the event. They weren't happy about that at all, and the groom said to Yagi he's lost it as they were going out to the race, basically. So I think we can give him a pass from that. One day this streak will come to an end, even when he does turn up. But he does feel like a superstar of dirt now. And if he turns up, he's so clear on the ratings. I do feel he just wins. Like you, the appeal of going in and recommending it as a bet at odds on. I don't play odds on, and not on dirt. We'll say about the only thing about his having had hard runs. You're right; he's been in some battles, some wars, but they haven't managed him quite well, haven't they? I mean, they gave him a good break after the Dubai Cup last year, brought him back for a prep in Japan, then to the Breeders' Cup of Del Mar. They haven't over-raced him, certainly not recently, but will it go on? But for you, I think, the idea is that the most likely winner, but not a bet. Nysos, we can take this in turns, aren't we? Obviously, as the betting shows, it's pretty clear who the market thinks is the big rival. Not a Romantic Warrior, but I mean, he's got a win streak which is pretty impressive. He's only been beaten once, and that was over 7 furlongs. Otherwise, he's sort of 7 wins, I think, from 8. Been touted and heralded as a superstar, and it hasn't quite worked out because he had to miss through injury, missed the Derby Trail, didn't he? Then he lost that unbeaten record. Now he's won his last 2. Won the Dirt Mile, hard fought by a head. And one last time from Nevada Beach, stablemate, who reopposes. And I suppose, although there's an aura about this horse and people still want to anoint him as the next big thing, the fact that he's won his last 2 by a head gives me cause for pause. Are you perhaps a bit more bullish on him than me?
Yeah, I take the point that he kind of hasn't, for all that he's got a fantastic win record, he still hasn't put in that performance yet to kind of justify or to live up what we thought he might be. Nevertheless, I mean, he's won a Breeders' Cup race now. He won the Dirt Mile. And they were looking at the Breeders' Cup Classic for him, weren't they? I think he got like a foot bruise or something like that and missed his prep. He missed the Pacific Classic, so they ended up going to the Dirt Mile. So, I mean, he's won a Breeders' Cup race off a less than ideal prep. And I mean, it's hard to win a Breeders' Cup race even if you're at your absolute peak. Maybe more was expected of him last time. Well, the fact he was about 1-5 to win that race at Santa Anita, and he was pushed all the way by his stablemate Nevada Beach. I still think he went through that race quite like the best horse, and he was getting kind of nicely on top at the line again. I think it's kind of, it feels like now he's got to go and do it. And yeah, I'm still prepared to sort of buy into him and think that he might. I mean, he is super talented, and it's just okay. I quite like his draw as well. He's drawn wide in 12. I think kind of let him get on with it. He's only got that one turn to negotiate. Pratt gets off another one to stay on him, as you probably expect, but nevertheless, he's got off the Brad Cox horse, Flavian Pratt. So I like him. Yeah, I think if there's any kind of, if for whatever reason the favourite, well, he is just off colour or whatever, or just not quite in his game, then yeah, Nysos is. I like the fact that he's potentially still sitting on his best performance yet. Well, my worry for Forever Young being that he's had a lot of hard races now. I think Nysos has probably still got his best to come. So in terms of where they're going to be at their respective points of their careers on Saturday, I like that Nysos has got that room for improvement.
Okay, good stuff. And faces not just the Japanese star, but also his stablemate Nevada Beach. Think you were going to go first on that. I think you know what I feel about Nevada Beach. How do you see him in this constellation, in this setup?
Yeah, I think if you like Nysos, you've got to kind of factor in Nevada Beach, of course, as well, especially given he's such a bigger price. He's a Grade 1 winner at the distance. He won a race when he was prepping for the Breeders' Cup last year at a mile 1 at Santa Anita. He struggled in the Breeders' Cup Classic, which might lead you to think that he's probably just not. He's a notch below the elite level. He's quite tough, though. You pushed Nysos all the way at Santa Anita last time. Irad Ortiz takes over, which you could take as a positive. I think if he turns up and runs his race, I could definitely kind of see him finishing in amongst it. I just don't think he's quite at the elite, but you could get a piece of it for sure, second, third, and if Nysos, as I hope and expect, just takes a little bit of a step forward, he might just leave Nevada Beach behind a little bit compared to how little was in it last time they met. But yeah, he's got a chance for sure, and he's temptingly priced if you take that last run at face value.
Yeah, I'm going to play him. I am interested in this guy. I think he's still potentially got upside because he's just a 4-year-old. He hadn't even seen a racetrack, I think I'm right in saying, until April last year. So he came a very long way in a short time, winning his Group 1, beating Full Serrano in the Santa Anita over this distance, 9 furlongs. And they threw him straight into the Breeders' Cup Classic, which a lot of people, observers that I read and heard from at the time, felt might be a step too far, and they proved correct on that. But comes back with another win, giving weight away, then takes on stablemate, runs him to a head, getting a little bit of weight, but only the sort of weight for age, which you'd expect to be a feature of these things. I quite like him. I think Baffert thinks he's kind of made for this course. The long, straight, grinding types will just keep going. Country Grammar came close for Bob Baffert for this twice, and he says he reminds him slightly of that. And Country Grammar, no superstar, no Forever Young, but yeah, as you say, if Forever Young stubs his toe, something's got to come there. And I think I'd rather take this one at sort of 3 times his stablemate's price as the play to do so, with an each way angle. Bishop's Bay, he's an interesting one. Another American horse, the third. The Americans have that 2, 3, 4 in the betting, don't they? He's won 4 of his last 5. This guy, but. Yeah, Group 1 these are new waters, a big Group 1. He's been beaten once, badly beaten, but in his last 5. But that was over 7 furlongs, I think, against sprinter types. Probably got the stamina. Couldn't quite get to this one. Certainly not the same price as Nevada Beach, because I just on the form that I was at the Cigar Mile or last time out. He beat a horse called Mika, who we discussed as Pegasus. I mean, he was beaten 15 lengths in the Pegasus World Cup. Now, maybe that's because the speed dynamic and too much speed there didn't play for him. But I couldn't quite get to this one. Any love for him?
Yeah, I quite like him. I think there are a couple of things. A bit like you, a bare reading of the form, you kind of think probably not. A neck win in the Cigar Mile. That's not the race it used to be. The form didn't stand up at Gulfstream. For all that you say that the different pace dynamic at Gulfstream, which I completely agree. However, watching the race back, Mika got a really easy lead that day. He kind of slipped the field turning in, and Bishop's Bay was flat out and probably had no right to get to him, but he did. He ran him down, neck at the line. There was over 4 lengths back to the rest. An extra furlong this time. It's interesting to note that these days he's owned locally by Saudi interests. So you wonder if this race has obviously been a goal. And I just kind of like the way he finished last time. And so if you're looking for something each way to play, I think he'll come running. Second, third, or fourth. I don't know if I quite see him being good enough to win. But I absolutely respect him. I think he's got the right kind of style to be going on at the line to get a piece of it.
Yeah, I'm having a brain fade moment. Is it Brad Cox?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did, of course, supply the winner of the Dubai World Cup last year when that one melted down, didn't he? So he's had some success in the Middle East recently. Then after Bishop's Bay, we're into now another Japanese contender, Luxor Cafe. Remember him? He was kind of the wise guy horse and all the rage in the betting, or one of the top 3 in the betting, into last year's Kentucky Derby after an unbeaten streak. Do you find this guy interesting?
I don't think he'll be good enough. The most interesting thing I could find out about him, we were familiar with him, as you mentioned, from last year, but he's a brother to, is it Cafe Ferro? Who was third in this
full brother. Yeah,
full brother, absolutely. And he's only 4, he might have his best days ahead of him. I don't know, he got absolutely trounced last time. That kind of happens sometimes. These dirt races in Japan are so competitive. His last 2 starts are coming 16-runner fields. I think sometimes you can just kind of, a bit of interference or whatever, you can just suddenly you get lost down the field. I wouldn't take a heavy defeat on dirt to mean the same as necessarily on turf. I think you often just, if the horse gets behind and out of their rhythm or whatever, he might even have had a legitimate excuse that day. I don't know. So I'm not kind of holding that last appearance against him. It's more the case of that I just think he just still hasn't really shown he's quite good enough. But yeah, he's got the pedigree and he's young enough to think that he might improve, and all these Japanese runners have to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I was actually getting quite excited about this one because he had a big break after the Kentucky Derby, and which, as you say, forgive any horse in that madness 20-horse field. It's all too much for some. But he comes back and third on his return, then he wins, and I think, this guy could be really interesting this year. But then last time out, he had another regression, didn't he? I think it was 15th of 16 in the Champions Cup. I don't know what went wrong there. On the back of that, I can't really have him here, but something in my back of mind says there's talent there. So yeah, he's an interesting runner for sure. And only other 2 that I think we'll sort of look at in a little bit of detail: Tumbarumba, Sunrise, Sipango. Tumbarumba, a really hard-knocking, good sort, about G2, G3 level in the United States. He was, he's won multiple Group 3s, he's won Group 2s. When he ran in Group 1s, was 4th twice in the British Cup Dirt Mile back-to-back years. Now, not quite this level, I think. Bought my Wathman. They bring him to Maidan, and it doesn't go well there first time out, but then last time ran pretty eye-catching, staying on second to Imperial Emperor in the Al Maktoum Challenge round 2, whatever it was. I found this guy a little intriguing because I didn't, before that was 9.5 furlongs, I didn't really think stamina would be his game, but he was staying on there. Can you see him getting a piece of this?
Not for me. I just don't think he's good enough. Like, twice beaten in the Dirt Mile, as you say, run well in Dubai last time, but that's not kind of strong form. I just don't think he's good enough. I respect the fact that he's kind of maybe going the right way. He'll stay, and the fact that Wathman bought him, and maybe they're going to get a bit more out of him. For me, not good enough.
No, okay, fair enough. When we come to our sort of pick selections later, you'll see I'm pretty keen on Sunrise Zipango. This has got the weirdest profile coming in here. A dirt horse who does have decent dirt form over 9 furlongs, 8 furlongs in Japan, but then he was beaten out of sight in December. In September I think it was, and he comes back and they run him in the Arima Kinen, that really deep, strong end of year turf race over 12.5 furlongs. And he comes fifth at 120 to 1. And now maybe that was a one of a completely different surface, different trip, different day. His previous form hasn't suggested he's good enough for that. But there's something about turf horses coming to this race, be they, I don't know, Mishriffs or Pantalassas, horses who've won that, who've shown a bit of turf style, just off the back of one of the best performances of his life. I just wondered if he could get into the mix if he takes to the surface. Do you think I've been taking the happy pills, or could you see that as a wild possibility?
I'm not going to completely dismiss him. He's being completely honest, he's not a horse that I'm super familiar with. So when I was looking at him to making my notes, I thought he's second last year in the February Stakes, which is a dirt grade 1 in Japan. That's fair enough. It gives him. It's not elite form, but it shows that he can kind of be competitive. He's clearly really versatile. As I mentioned, the February Stakes, a mile on the dirt. You mentioned the Arima Canen, which is 12.5 furlongs on turf. Maybe if they go really fast, I was just looking at his Arima Canen run, and he came from quite a long way back. If they go hard, and Oisin Murphy's got form, hasn't he, teaming up with a Japanese runner in a big dirt race. I think he won the Breeders' Cup Distaff at Del Mar a few years ago at a huge price on one of theirs, just from out of the clouds. Not for me, but I just think his overall his level's a bit too ordinary. But he's going to be priced accordingly, isn't he? So, and he's got talent, isn't he, to be running in those types of races and being competitive.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. If this race turns into a complete meltdown pace battle, and we've seen that in the past before, of course. You remember Emblem Road winning it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what price. It might have been as much as hundreds, but it was a big old price. I mean, he came from nowhere as the leaders just fell into a hole. And Dubai World Cups as well have been won by pace meltdowns as well. So yeah, that would be his best chance. Looking to the right side of the screen, we got the other 33 to 1 shots and the complete outsiders. I couldn't get to these, as you know. I remember quite like Banishing for Peace the Pegasus, but he didn't run well. That was his 13th run in 12 months. This is much more of a stamina test than that, and I don't think he's a stamina horse. So I've abandoned him here. Rattle and Roll, good enough for 5th last year. He's a year older. Is he going to do better than that? I don't think so. And to be honest with you, I'm not even going to give the others a mention. I went through the form and I just thought I cannot see any of these possibly doing it. And anything grab you from right field, right side.
There's one. I'll just quickly on Banishing. I'm not a fan of this horse, but I'd completely forgotten that when I was just looking through Nysos's form, that these two dead heated for second in May at Churchill Downs in a 7 furlong Grade 1. So if you kind of think that we're looking at 7 to 2 for the Baffert horse, and I don't know what price Banishing is about, well, any price really, then he's like literally finished right next to the second favourite in a Grade 1 before. But there were circumstances that maybe dictated that. Nysos was making
shorter trip as well, wasn't it?
Shorter trip, yeah. Nysos had been off for ages and so on, and so you wouldn't want to take that literally. But it was a good run. Book and Dana was 4th, and Mindframe was a good horse that won the race. Banishing's talented. I keep using that word, but he, you want to be at this level, I guess. But he's, I'm just not convinced overall by him. I thought a huge price. The booking of Ryan Moore on the filly, Amirat Al Zaman is might take your eye, and there's a.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice Moore by her.
Yeah, okay. And I think this is 8 stone 9. Of course, he's going to make the effort to do a lightweight in a $20 million race, but I think this is pretty much as light as he rides these days. Or for a while at least, as far as I'm aware. This filly probably isn't good enough, but she looked like in the qualifying race for this last time, she hit the front, having challenged wide. She looked like she was going to win, and she was just run down by, I think it's Halley, who runs in this as well. Saudi horses finished 1st and 4th in this race in 2022, so it's not impossible. I came to the conclusion that probably the local form probably isn't that good this time around, but she's a big price. She could be interesting. She might be kind of improving. Probably not. I'm not going to back her, but so I just wouldn't put a complete line through her. Some of the others, like you mentioned, Rattle and Roll, I can't see him, and she might just have a bit of improvement in her, and they've managed to secure the services of Ryan Moore.
Yeah. Okay. I do think it's unfortunate in a way when you've got an odds-on favourite. Even with a field of 13, 14 horses, this is not the situations in which bookmakers give anything away like a fourth place. I think fear that's going to be the problem in terms of getting some of those longer shots into the frame. So okay, so let's turn to predicted order of finish. My short notes for Forever Young were just superstar, clear excuse for only defeat in the last year, just wins. So I'm going to put him on top, but I'm not recommending as a bet because odds on is not my thing. I'm taking Nevada Beach as the best each way play. I don't know if he will finish ahead of Nysos, but there's something about that long Saudi straight. Worth pointing out that Nysos has never actually been 9 furlongs, and on breeding he shouldn't have a problem with it. But just in the back of my mind, I like the grinding Nevada Beach, and if they were doing 4 places, I would have a go at Sunrise Zipango. In fact, I'll correct that, saying I have actually had a little flutter each way on Sunrise Zipango just for the wild pace meltdown, the surprise horse from the clouds. You put Nysos on top.
Yeah, exactly. Just think he might be able to edge it. And if I'm kind of getting Forever Young beat, and Nevada Beach is closely tied with his stablemate, I'll have those two 1-2. I was umming and ahhing between whether I go for Forever Young in 4th and Bishop's Bay with his run style to kind of just keep grinding. But anyway, I think maybe
that would be quite the trifecta, wouldn't it? Nysos, Nevada Beach, Bishop's Bay. You get paid. You get well.
Yeah,
paid.
that would be all right. I mean, the only query for Forever Young, I don't know if I'm going to sort of land us in it in terms of like expose something that we don't know, but he hasn't had a prep this time around, has he, Forever Young? Whereas he did last year. I haven't read anything to say why. It might just be that they're looking at the bigger picture and thinking Dubai again and things like that, and they want to keep him that bit more fresh. But
that's an interesting point. I read with concern about 3 weeks ago that Yahagi quoted as saying, "Yeah, he's doing well. I'm still not happy with his weight. He's still got too much weight, but we'll get there," kind of thing. But then the narrative, his tone changed about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, and it's like we're right. He's right where we want him, and he looks great, and everyone's cooing over him. And I think the stable are happy. So.
Fair enough. I just wonder, the trainer Yahagi, he's a genius, and when it comes to the international travel, so he knows what he's doing. Maybe I'm clutching at straws to think that they might be thinking this is a bit of a penalty kick, send him there 90%, and then get him right for Dubai. But and if they do that, I think he'd be vulnerable. But just a risk at 8-11.
Yeah, I mean, but I suppose if it were the other way around, you'd think that might be the case, but of course, this is the $10 million to the winner pot.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You want to be fit for it.
Yeah, I would. So. And I think Yahagi's going to probably know more than me about how to get them ready for it. So yeah.
Yeah, he's not just a genius in getting them ready, and he can get them off a break. But as you say, traveling, all over the world, they just seem to turn up, his runners, don't they? So, absolutely. Okay, brief summary of where we are in terms of betting. We wrote an article on the AntePoster published a while back. Nevada Beach each way at 14s. I think 12s is still perfectly fair. This one can grind his way into contention. Probably not big enough to beat the favourite, but I'll have a poke. And I'm just going to go wild with Sunrise Zipango, even though I fear I won't get no chance getting the 4th place. As the wild one. And for you just think, okay, I take a swing, Nysos win only.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an interesting race, but it's not one that kind of really grabbed me for to play in various different ways. I just thought I'd take a stab against the favourite with an up and comer who might be good enough.
No, I'd agree with that. It's not a race to get you running to the windows in terms of licking your lips over the betting potential. And I would agree with that. Okay, so let's go to the undercard. We'll take these in turn, sort of introducing these, and you've drawn the shortest straw, which is to go first with the Saudi Derby, which brings together horses from all over the world with no form lines that you can easily compare. Blimey, talk us through this one. This is a good race. It's thrown up some good winners in the past, isn't it?
It has, yeah. So I'm gonna take a bit of a cop out of this one, but so I'm going to go through the history of the race, and as for my kind of selection, I need longer to look at this race. And I think we're going to link to where you'll be able to find my preview for this race nearer the time. So there's just so many form lines to go through, and I'll take you through the history for starters. Misriff was second in the first running of this race in 2020, came back to win the Saudi Cup. In 2021, Rebels Romance was fourth, came back to win a hatful of Grade 1s. 2022, Noble Truth, Charlie Appleby's finished 13th, and then later the same season won the Jersey Stakes at Royal Ascot. 2023, Derma Soto Gake was third. He then won the UAE Derby and finished second in the Breeders' Cup Classic. 2024, Forever Young beat Bookham Dano. Bookham Dano then won a Grade 1, I think it was at Saratoga.
Bentornato in third as well.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely, with the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner. And quite interestingly, nothing of note from the 2025 running, except for the fact that Shin Forever was second, and he runs in the Turf Sprint later on this card. Not suggesting he's one to follow, but if you kind of like the fact that this race has always produced a good one. And the aforementioned M. Halley, who runs in the Saudi Cup, he finished third in this last year, and how his form ties in with the filly that Rye Moore rides. That's kind of just led me to think, not to go back to the Saudi Cup when we've dealt with it, that just kind of made me look twice at the Rye Moore horse, and it ties in with one who ran in the Saudi Derby. But yeah, in terms of my tip for this, I'm afraid, Daniel, I'm going to have to. You said I've got the short straw, but I'm going to throw it back to you. And as I say, my preview for this one will be up on my Telegraph page later in the week, and we'll link to that.
Yeah, okay. And so when you said that was going to be your approach, I decided that what I'd do is I'd give a 10-second guide to more or less every horse in the field, and people can make of it what they will. They made the two big Japanese horses favourites, and normally the Americans get favouritism or close to favouritism. And there's been a deliberate decision by bookmakers that these two Japanese are, the business, or at least the superior animals. Don't quite know where they get that from. We've got nothing to compare in terms of, obviously 4 lines coming from different racing jurisdictions. Turnover Voyage, one figures 2-1-1-1, unbeaten on dirt. I think that the debut was turf. Won the Catalia Stakes last time. Will stalk. Probably very good. Comes with a big reputation. We've no idea how big. She can win. He can win. Apologies. But just don't know how good he is. Best Green is the other big one. Now, this one comes from the NAR circuit in Japan, which is the sort of second circuit in a way. And often the horses on that circuit are inferior, but this one has, 1-1-1-1, 4 wins in the trot. Then he comes third at something called the Nisei Yushun. He's won over 9 furlongs. Stamina will be no problem for this guy, getting this smile, unlike some other horses we'll talk later. But interesting, but I just wouldn't have put him at the top of the market. My World, I'm interested in. This guy is 2-1-1-1 figures. The last 3 wins, ending up with the Jerome Stakes. Beat a horse called Balboa, who was beaten previously only a length more by a horse called Paladin, who sits right at the top of the Kentucky Derby rankings. My World could be very good. We know he stays. He's got to fly across the world. I thought there'd be shorter price than 7s. I'm surprised. So he's interested in. The one I'm really interested in, though, even though I have no idea he's going to get home, is Obliteration. This guy's got speed to burn. He's dual service. He's been doing turf. He's been doing dirt. The turf, he was 4th in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. That's over 4 furlongs, flying at the end. Wants further than that. But does he want this far? Last time out, only a few weeks ago, he ran a monster speed figure, blowing away the opposition over 7 furlongs. I think it was at Oaklawn Park. And I'm no doubt in my mind he's the fastest horse in this field. My question is quite what happens to him with the long Saudi Straight. Maybe falls in a hole, but he's really dangerous. Again, I expect to be shorter. Wonder Dean, 4 runs over 9 furlongs. Again, stamina not an issue. I couldn't get excited enough to as a bet. Then we're on to second tier Americans. Acknowledge Me Please, crazy name. Got some decent form, but out of a sort of sprinter breeding on both sides. Don't think he'll like the long straight. Al Haram, I was very excited by. Anyone should put up Saudi 2000 guineas Al Haram and watch it. It's mind-bogglingly good. He blows the opposition by over 7 furlongs. However, the time for that race is about 1.5 seconds slower than the Saudi Derby is over course and distance has ever been run over. So I suspect there was nothing in that race, and he was made to look good by no hopers. Could be wrong. Toke Ma Cherie, 3 on turf, and proof for switch on dirt. One was listed 7 furlong last time out. Came from way back. Good running style, decent draw. Out of Drafong, King Kamahaha, sort of dam line. Not uninteresting. Shayem, Carl Burke sends something from the all-weather. Who knows? He's got good form with the likes of Bow Echo at Haydock on soft, but who knows what he's going to do here on dirt for the first time. Interesting that Bert rolls the dice there. Kai Agito has only won a maiden allowance, but the last one he was a complete outsider, and they thinks he's very good, and they've decided to chuck him in here, get Smorera on board. Interesting. Then I slightly lose interest. Very connected is Ken McPeak, who has an American trainer who has a habit of pulling off big coups at big prices. So can't rule him out. I can rule out the other three. Cielo de Roma from France, Union Security, and Two Jerry's, the locals, not good enough. So if you want to find out what Ron really thinks of this race and who he's going to put up, go onto his column on Telegram. It should be up on Friday, Ron.
Yeah, Friday evening should finally come to.
You should have that bookmarked anyway in your browser. A lot of good stuff on there. If you don't want to be bothered working out how to type out that link, just put Ron Wood Telegraph online in Google and you go straight there. So that'll be there. I published an article early today on our website, the AntePoster, saying, look, this obliteration, he's too good not to have throw a dart at, even though he might run out of stamina. And I think my world has got the stamina, and it's got arguably some of the best form in the race, however difficult form that is to compare. I just think he's overpriced against 7-1, but great clash of East and West. Talking of clashes of East and West, we're at it again. For the last race, we'll look at the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, 6 furlongs. And the last 3 years, you've had 23 and 25, you've had the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner, winning it for America. When the Americans come in, they've got to be taken seriously. And even 2 years ago, when it wasn't won by an American horse, they bought lesser horses and came second and third. So I do like, the Americans here. The first 3 in the betting are all coming out of that Breeders' Cup Sprint last year. Now, none of them won it. They came second, fourth, and sixth. But Bentornato, who's sailing himself, we believe, the Golden Shaheen is the best dirt sprinter in the US right now. There's no question about that. And Imagination was second, and a good second, having won a good race at Santa Anita the time before. He's improved massively since being dropped from sort of mile. They tried him even on, I think, Kentucky Derby trail. He's just found himself as a sprinter. Got a real chance at 7-4. Wouldn't put anyone off. Bit short for me on a dirt sprint. Go in on that, but I won't do it. American Stage came fourth. This is with the name American Stage. You think it's another American Breeders' Cup Sprint, but no, this is Yahagi's second of his 3 horses on the night, I think, isn't it? Came fourth. That was a really good run. This horse is good, can run. Came sixth in the or fifth in the Golden Shaheen last year. Only beaten about 3 lengths. He's young. He's only just turned 4, I believe. He's good. What happened last time out? Maybe it was just a prep, but I think it was 11th of 16 or whatever. Ugh. Not so wild, and he draws the far outside. I kind of not interested in. Lovesick Blues, I am interested in, and I have bet. This one is 8 years old, but hit form of his life. 2-3 back, winning a big G1 sprint in Del Mar, being Crosby. In the Breeders' Cup Sprint, only 6, but watch that race back. He's chopped off after half a furlong, falls pretty much off camera. He's trailing field by lengths and lengths and lengths, and he makes up an enormous amount of ground, slightly hampered again in the stretch. If he gets a clear run, this stretch is made for him, if he's still got it as 8, but we're only 2 months on from him being in the form of his life, so I thought it was worth a play. Couldn't quite weigh up Yaman in Cherchi. Last 4 runs, 1-1-1-3. Hang on, where I got this fella. He's obviously good, but 1-1-1-2. Yeah, he was in the Capella Stakes. Beat Gabby's sister, by the way, who's down in 12-1 here. She's out of form, and last year she came into the race in form before finishing 3rd, so don't like her. But Cherchi was second in that Capella, but he was beaten 5 lengths. The horse he beat, I'd be interested in. I'm not sure if I want him. Just beat the odds. Really, really interesting. Massive leap in class, but he's got big speed figures running in minor circuits in the US. I think he's worth a shot at the big time. Wouldn't put anyone off him. Whether or not he'll like this long straight, I don't know. But on the speed figures, he's interesting. Muktahem came second last year, 66-1. Would have liked this fella. I would have thought about playing him each way. He drew 13 of 13. That's a worse draw than last year. But he has won 4 straight, and this is a horse who's just run on this course and keeps winning. And as a second last year to the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner, Sprate No Chaser. What's not to like other than that draw? Could run well. Royals of Bill, quick mention for Appleby. He's coming here basically. He's an all-weather specialist, a very good all-weather specialist. Whether he can transfer that to taking on some of the best dirt horses in the world, who knows? Don and Mitier bit in and out, mainly out recently, and the rest aren't good enough. What's your thinking?
Yeah, I kind of like American Stage. I thought just the fact that he ran so well in the Breeders' Cup Sprint as a 3-year-old, as you mentioned, the only other 3-year-old in that race finished last. He chased the pace. He travelled really well. He's got so much speed. You know, he was in there with the best dirt sprinters in America, and he travelled as well as any of them. He just faded late on, and Imagination ran past him and finished second. Imagination's a short price for this. If you'd have stopped the race at the top of the straight, you wouldn't think there'd be anything between the two of them in terms of ability. And just going back to like the 3-year-olds in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, is to kind of to emphasise how well he ran. A 3-year-old hasn't won that race for 10 years. Last year there were only 2 3-year-olds in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. One of them was Bentonato, who finished second and came back to win that race last season. And the other 3-year-old was Raging Torrent in the 2024 Breeders' Cup Sprint, and he came back to win his next 3 starts. 2 of them were Grade 1s. The other one was the Godolphin Mile. I think when a 3-year-old runs well in a race like the Breeders' Cup Sprint, you kind of take them seriously. This is another one like, what happened last time, trying to figure out. He disappointed. He'd been off for 2.5 months, and it was probably just a prep. And we've already spoken about how Yahagi can get them ready for these big meetings. I don't mind his draw at all in Saw 12 because again, he can kind of see what's going on, and he has got a ton of speed. He travels really easily. And I also had a quick look, and Yahagi has had, by my count anyway, 6 winners on this card since 2022, which is some going. Like at the prices, I think that I don't know why Imagination's so much shorter than him. I think because I do quite like American Stage.
Okay, good case, strong case, and as reflected in your pick, neither is recommending an each way angle here. Ron for the American Stage for Yahagi, this talented colt who's probably got more to give. Me with the veteran Lovesick Blues, who's going to come from way back, but in that long and tiring Riyadh Straight, I think he's got a shout. Where does this bring us to next? Neom Turf Cup. Right, this is a smaller field, despite 3 million quid. It's an upgrade from last year, and a Group 1 status hasn't filled. And this wouldn't be a global Group 1 field for the ages, would it, Rob? Talk us through it.
Yeah, it's not a great race, which is a bit of a shame considering this is the first time that it's had the top level status. I quite like. So Shin Emperor is running again. He won the race last year. Whether he's coming in the same kind of form is questionable, but we've already spoken, bored everyone to death about his trainer. He's another Yahagi runner, so you've got to take him seriously. He won the race last year. I like another of the Japanese runners, and that is Alohai Ali, if I've pronounced that correctly, which I probably haven't. He's not had a lot of racing. Let me check my notes. He's only had 6 starts. His last start was in the Arc when it was 1.5 miles on soft ground, and that was just too much for him. The time before, he won Mile 2, Group 2 in France, and he won it really well. He's one of only 2 4-year-olds in this race. Quite a few exposed types in here. This one's a 4-year-old who's kind of being so lightly raced, still got his best days ahead of him. I like the fact he's drawn 1. We spoke about the track configuration at the start. While it's not a Chester or a Del Mar, it's on the inside of the dirt, so it's on the tight kind of side. The 1, 2, 3, 4 in this race last year, they were drawn 3, 2, 4, 1. So I think if you can save ground, it's an advantage. This is already a good horse off the back of just a handful of runs, line through the Arc run. Conditions will suit him. He's just going to hug the rail, hopefully, the whole way around. And I could see him, if he runs to his established level, he'll be thereabouts, and there's a potential for him to jump up again. And this is a meeting where the Japanese just do tremendously well. So, they've won this race for 2 of the last 4 years. So, I'll take him over some of the more exposed types.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I was somewhat bewildered by this race. I was drawing lines through horses, and then I realised I'd drawn a line through almost the whole field, and something's got to win it. We put up Survey at 16-1 in an article a week or two ago. The move to George Bowie. This is a filly, sorry, mare now with a lot of Group One form behind the likes of Whirl, Quisisana, Aventure. She's a proper Group One filly, and I don't think it's a Group One race. So I like the move to George Bowie. She had a nothing sort of win just to blow away the cobwebs under Ryan Moore on the Poly track a couple of weeks ago. Comes here with Moore on board again. I thought she could run well, but I'm not going to put her up again. I think lost 4 of the points. Shinenpra, yeah, as you say, just out of form, isn't he? I mean, 14th of 16 in the Arima Kanen, 8th of 16 in the Japan Cup wasn't too bad. That's good enough to get involved here. But I think they said something about him having a breathing problem. But yeah, I can't take a short favourite off the top of 2 big defeats like that. Royal Champion, real solid, likeable horse, proper Group 2 horse, not really a Group 1 horse, but then maybe isn't a Group 1. I think he's quite solid to run a good race. I just couldn't quite go as far as putting him on top. Alohi Ali, I get it. That pre-Guillaume Dornano look, everyone was like, whoa, this is a decent horse. There was a little bit of doubt about Rashabar behind him, and Qualificar clearly wasn't fit for Farb. And you forgive his, second last in the arc. I mean, he would have absolutely hated that ground. He's the X Factor. Interesting. No, wouldn't put anyone off him. Factor Cheval, I think, is too long in the tooth now. He's 7. Never been over this trip. Faded in the Prince of Wales, which is as close as he's been. You forgive him that because, according to Rainier, it's the worst ride a jockey has ever given to one of my horses. He didn't mince his words about that one, and he did go far too soon. Rolling back the years, he'd have to. Galen, 3 horses for those who like their stats, 3 of the 6 running. So this has gone to stall 9. So don't be put off Galen, who often outruns his odds from the front or near to the front. He could go for a long way. Joseph O'Brien and an ownership team having fun with this guy. Not impossible. He could get a slice of the pie. But I think Salawi is where I'm going to have a tiny little each way on that. Beaten by Opera Ballo, who's a proper miler in Maidan last time out over a mile, but he wants no part of that distance. He's a Group 1 winner over 12 furlongs. Now, only a Canadian Group 1, but he broke the track record that day. And since Wathman have done their thing, and the new trainer, this guy intrigues me. I think he might have more to give. I don't think there's that strong a race, and I think at 16s I'll have a little flutter at getting him involved. Quick mention for Yamamin Bouclier, inconsistent, mainly bad form, but he was second, beaten less than lengths by Museum Mile a few months ago. Museum Mile, one of the top colts in Japan, no question. If done a change of atmosphere, likes the Middle Eastern turf, if he decides to put his best foot forward, he could just prove a shocker. Don't like the outside 3. So that takes us to our summary of that. Ron's intrigued by Alohi Ali, 9-2, perfectly fair price in a weak Grade 1 to prove has got Group 1 quality, must have upside, seems reasonable. I'm just having a little each way on Silawi, who I think might have a little more to give at 16-1. Right, so 2 more turf races. 1351 Turf Sprint. For those people who find this a very confusing name, it's a double play on words. 1351 is both the distance, 6 3/4 furlongs, near as damn it, and it happens to be the date of the founding of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, 1932. In modern money. So that's why it's called what it is. But basically, just shy of 7 furlongs. And it's drawn a really interesting field, again, from all over the world. And we've got one big gun in here, Lazat, one of the famous global turf sprinters, dual Group 1 winner, in a race desperately short of Group 1 form. I'm looking through it. I don't actually think any other horse in this race has won a Group 1, and many of them haven't even run in a Group 1. Audience who was withdrawn a couple of days ago, so that saves me from having to think whether I want to try that one again at 40-1. Lazat, I've got to be completely against. He's last 6 runs, he's burnt punters' fingers by losing at 1-2, 1-2, 2-1, even money. No way, no way. He's been beaten twice abroad. That wonderful Jubilee win at Ascot 6 furlong seems a long time ago now, and he could get back to it. But why you'd take, by the way, 11-8, I think is now available for him. Why you'd take that price for that risk when a horse has lost his last 3 races at short odds is totally beyond me. Everything in me screams take this guy on. Panjata is interesting for Japan, really interesting. Young horse, recently turned 4-year-old, really good group 1 winner over a mile, Group 3 winner over 6 furlongs in Japan. So he's got boot as well, and only 5th in the Golden Eagle, but that was a decent field and it was softish ground. Really dangerous. Marvel Man for me is a throw out for Balding, because his standout piece of form, the one bit of form that gives him a claim to get a piece of this, was on soft ground. Anaf won this 2 years ago, 5th last year. He's 28 now. No. Reef Runner really, really interests me. I'm betting this one. We published an article about this earlier today. Got really good sprint form in California, including the only time he was stepped up to 6.5 furlongs in something called the Group 2 Eddie D at Santa Anita. Won that. 4th in the Breeders' Cup Sprint over 5. Dropping back in trip, not sure. It all happened a bit too quick for him that day. The front runners didn't come back. I think he's worth another go here. I think he's dangerous for a trainer who no one's ever heard of. David Fawkes. Fortune Time couldn't quite get to for outside of Japan runners. Comanche Brave, interesting, ran quite well, but only a week ago in Abu Dhabi. We thought, we had a chat about this the other day, Ron, and I thought they'd duck that. Zio Joe, I couldn't get to. Time to Dazzle, I am interested in. They mispriced this and put it up at 200 to 1. Unfortunately, by the time one's put a tiny amount on it so as not to annoy the bookmaker, they then cut the price by a factor of 10, so not quite as appealing, but not impossible. Shin Forever, Ron mentioned it earlier, that's a dirt to turf switch. It hasn't really happened for this horse since he came second in the Saudi Derby. Geography, I have backed. This is my interesting outsider. Schiergen, German horses, often underestimated. Last 4 runs really good. Won a Group 3, won a Group 2, 5th in the Foray out of 16, which is a proper Group 1 over 7 furlongs. And it was in the mud. Just completely overpriced. Maybe this is a tiny bit short, but I have to play Geography. The other 2 outsiders I couldn't get to. Ron, I think you're going to keep your powder dry for this till Friday in terms of picks, but anything you'd like to say about the field?
Yeah, exactly. I haven't kind of finalised my pick for this one yet, unfortunately, but yeah, Lazat, I suspect I'll probably be against him. I was looking at the history of this race as well, and I think it was Naval Crown who went off favourite for this race a few years ago, finished down the field, and then went and won the 6 furlong Group 1 at Ascot. Lazat comes into it having already won the 6 furlong Group 1 at Ascot, but I guess it's just to make the point that it's a completely different test. You might be capable of winning that race at Royal Ascot up the straight, the stiff straight. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to run to the same level around quite a sharp turn over this 6.5 furlong trip, and it's quite quick ground. I don't know if this horse wants the extra half furlong will help him, but I don't know if he wants a real proper speed test, and he's drawn wide, so I don't suppose I'm going to be with him. Comanche Brave, we did speak about him the other day, as we were intrigued as to how he was going for the new race at Abu Dhabi, and he ran well, and we were wondering whether they would turn him out again for this, and they have done. Makes you wonder. Some sort of shrewd people behind him, obviously Donica O'Brien, the trainer. He could, in contrast, I think he could be the type to really take to this test. He travels very strongly in his races. He didn't really get a mile last year, but he ran well. I think he travelled really strongly in the Irish Guineas, and when he finished 5th behind Field of Gold, but kind of just didn't really get that trip. And then he ran at Ascot, finished 3rd in the Jersey Stakes. A stiff 7 furlongs at Ascot probably was stretching him a little bit as well. These guys are clever enough to have sort of thought about the Abu Dhabi to Saudi within a week kind of turnaround. If that was just to blow the cobwebs away last week, then he's really interesting with Ryan Moore on. Shin Forever, I mentioned, if he was a huge price, you could say, well, he ran the Saudi Derby, and that's got a history, habit of producing a good horse. Other than that, I'll just have to see near the time. I think I'm already talking myself into Comanche Brave, though.
Okay, right. Interesting. Who presumably will have the services of one arm more, yes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Out there for the lads. So the son of the master trainer will also have his horses. So it's just a summary of where we are. Ron Wood, follow the column on Friday. Telegraph Online. And this is a summary of the article we put up earlier today. I think Reef Runner is dangerous for David Fawkes at 12-1, and I cannot resist throwing a few pennies at Geography at 50-1 each way. I'm absolutely amazed by the size of that price. Okay, so we are just down to our last race now. We were on, and just a brief view of this is the only sort of non-graded stakes race on the field. So it's a handicap. I mean, after the Melbourne Cup, is this the richest handicap in the world? It must be. It's a couple $2.5 million purse or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be. I don't know that for sure, but it's got to be. I'd have thought. I can't think of any others that that could match that. So if I'm going first, it's probably quite an obvious selection, or it's definitely an obvious selection. But Tennessee stud for Joseph O'Brien ran well in the Derby last year, finished third, still going the right way because he won a Group 2 in France when he was last seen in the autumn, which was a mile 7 when they stepped him up to a staying trip for the first time. Quite a big horse. I think he might have won despite he won a Group 1 in France on bottomless ground as a 2-year-old, but he only beat 2 other horses. He won in France on Arc Weekend again, and the Group 2. I don't think he's winning because he wants soft ground. I think it just happens to be circumstance. He's showed in other races that he can handle better conditions, so I think he'll be fine. This trip will suit him. It's interesting. Aidan O'Brien won this with Tower of London a couple of years ago, and he had the favourite last year with Continuous, who finished third. This one's not Aidan's, but it's in a roundabout sort of way the same kind of stable. The same owners. It's a race they like, and it's a good starting point for this horse for the year. I think I like him. Fairly obvious, but I think he's the one to beat.
Yeah, when I looked at this race, he was the one that stood out to me on the field. I mean, he's the only one, as it were, of this field who's almost. We'll come to another horse later, but only one this horse who's got pretensions of potentially being a Group 1 horse. And he's still young, isn't he? He's got that form from last year in Group 1s. Slight cause for pause for me was I just wonder if this horse is a bit better on softer ground. And certainly last year there was lots of talk about hoping for a bit more cut and whatever to show his best, and maybe that's gone away. And if they're bringing him all the way to the Middle East, they must think that they must think he can handle faster ground, because they're not going to get good to soft in Riyadh on Saturday. But that just caused for pause. But yeah, he did stand out in a way. I see where you're coming from there. Epic Poet deserves a mention, because I mean, what a warrior! I mean, his last 7 races, apart from the Hardwick sort of blowout, which was 12 furlongs, far too short, his staying handicap form is 2-3, 3-2, 4-2, 3. I mean, he always turns up, but again, handicapper doesn't relent. He's getting old now. Ran really well in prep. I think it was Maidan for this. I get it. I'm not going to take him as favourite. Goody 2 views. Is that also Joseph O'Brien, isn't it, in the Melbourne Cup second? Is that right?
Yeah.
But that weight will have gone up, and we'll see. This is a very different test to Melbourne, where there was softish turf. So we'll see. Interesting next to the Japanese. Japanese need to be taken seriously in this race. They've won it a couple of times, and I have a theory. Well, I have a theory. It's many people's theory, but the Japanese handicapper is, shall we say, possibly a bit more conservative than some of their international counterparts, and so they always need taking very seriously. And the one I like is Struve, or however you pronounce it. Vermicelle, also a decent horse, but going back three races, Struve was beating the lengths by Vermicelle, but was giving that one her. I think it's a mare, giving her a stone. And now it's down to just a couple of pounds. And Struve, this is the first time he's not running off top weight in a handicap. I want to say handicap. Some of these handicaps in Japan are, like Group 2 status, really, really sort of high-ranking affairs, and he's run well, but just with these welter burdens. He's now in the middle of the weights, and all those sort of 10ths and 8ths in it on his card. You needn't worry about those, really, because those are absolutely top quality, Japanese Group 1 races. The Japan Cup, if you come 10th in the Japan Cup, you are a very good horse. So I think in the middle of the weights, this one is too big. I like him at 10s, and I like Balding's Tarriance, the Melrose winner from last year. Could have a lot more to give. I think he'd be a lot shorter had he not gone to St Ledger and flopped in a bog. They rolled the dice on ground they didn't think he'd like. They lucky enough to bring him to the Middle East. I suspect he's overpriced as well. Presage Nocturne, top weight, good horse, but got carrying quite the burden. Couldn't quite get to Table Talk. Sons and Lovers, first time out, no prep. Again, is that a third Joseph O'Brien? Mainly middle distance, sort of 12 furlongs. Now they're taking it up in trip by a few furlongs. Interesting. Burdett Road, her champion hurdle second, is here. Couldn't quite like that, and I would have really liked Espoir Avenir, but she's got some fantastic form on soft ground, but she ain't going to get it on Saturday. Real Dream, Ian Williams runs well, off a low weight, often runs well, but possibly this is all too much. Did you had a putting on this for that? I think you were on.
Yes,
Tennessee Stud.
Tennessee Stud, yeah. The only one that just some more thoughts on this race as you were kind of talking, like the fact that Tariance is getting weight from everything with it being a handicap. He's being gelded, and he might have more in him, and it probably doesn't really matter. But Oisin Murphy, the lowest weight he's done in the last 12 months is 8 stone 8, and that's what he'll be doing on this horse at the weekend. Again, it's one of those you're going to make an effort for, of course. I like Tennessee Stud, but yeah, he's lurking at the bottom of the weights, isn't he? That one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Tennessee Stud win only for Ron, and the Japanese Struve for me, and Tariance, after what you point out about Oisin Murphy and the weight, maybe I want to go and have another bet on this one. This one, by the way, I think it's worth pointing out that this is pretty much a slam dunk to get 4 places, because the shortest in the betting is 4 to 1. It was 4, even potentially 5 last year. So if you're doing the each ways, if you don't see the price going, you might want to wait till Friday night or whenever, when the 4th places come out. I've played because I'm an impatient fella and probably shouldn't have done. Okay, all of which I think that brings us to no, there is no extra slide to go for, so I'll bring us back on the screen and say once again sorry for a marathon session. We've gone over the hour mark, but we've covered a huge amount. So Ron, thanks so much for joining us. Everyone should be aware they should be following Ron Wood, the Telegraph Online anyway. It's commercial betting copyright for the Telegraph Media Group, and he writes good stuff, and he picks winners and has good P&L. So definitely, with reference for Saudi, come back, read his whole column with thoughts for every race on the Friday. So we're happy to give that column a plug. And Ron, with a bit of luck, we'll see you again, perhaps for Maidan in a month's time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back on. And yeah, I'd be more than happy to come back on for the World Cup. It's good racing. There's always, I noticed we've gone over the hour. There's just always so much to talk about on these big international meetings, and just runners from all over the world, aren't there? So.
Yeah, when you cover 7 big races, it's very, very difficult to keep it short. But anyway, yeah, thanks for all your patience. And yeah, with a bit of luck, you're seeing James back next time as well. So good luck on Saturday, everyone. And thanks for joining us.
Cheers, Daniel.